My name's Walter Harris, 61 years old, retired machinist, and widower of 5 years. The ranch I live on wasn't just land to me. It was Carol's dream. She built this place with her own hands after we married, planting pecan trees along the fence line and insisting we keep the front porch wide enough for rocking chairs. When cancer took her, I promised I'd hold on to it as long as I breathed. Most mornings are simple. Coffee black as tar, sunrise painting the fields, the same boots by the door I've worn for 2 decades. The quiet suits me, or at least it used to. Lately, things haven't been so quiet. My son-in-law Doug, slick smile, pressed shirts, handshake that feels like he's counting your fingers, has been showing up more often, too often. At first, he brought small gestures. A bottle of bourbon. Just thought you'd like this, Walt. Then came the questions. Hey, ever thought of downsizing? Big place for one man. Maybe cash out, buy a condo closer to town. I brushed it off, but the visits kept coming, always circling back to the land, the deed, the value of liquidating assets. Words a man like Doug used like poker chips. Then last week he handed me a gift wrapped in gold paper. Inside was a fountain pen, expensive, heavy in my hand. Doug grinned wide. For signing important papers, Pops. Never know when you'll need to make life easier for everyone. The words stuck like a burr in my boot. Why would my son-in-law care about me signing anything? That night, I poured myself a glass of bourbon, set the pen on Carol's old ledger book, and stared at it until the house was dark. Something about that gift felt wrong, like it wasn't for me at all, but for him. 2 days later, an envelope arrived in my mailbox. County seal, official paper. My name typed bold at the top, above a signature that looked almost like mine. Almost. The envelope weighed heavier than any wrench I'd ever held. Inside was a legal document, power of attorney for real property. It claimed I had granted full authority to Doug Whitaker, my son-in-law, to manage, mortgage, and sell the Harris Ranch. At the bottom, a shaky scrawl tried to pass for my signature. It wasn't mine. I'd signed my name the same way for 40 years on time cards, shift logs, and checks, square and steady. This one leaned crooked, rushed, a poor imitation, but enough to fool anyone who didn't know better. That evening, I drove into town and found Doug at Miller's Tavern, holding court at the bar like he owned the place. He grinned when he saw me, teeth too white, eyes too confident. "Walt," he said, clapping my shoulder. "Drink?" I shoved the papers across the counter. "You want to explain this?" His grin flickered, then slid back into place like nothing had happened. He lifted the pages, skimmed them, and chuckled. "What's the problem? Just paperwork. Makes things easier for the family if something happens to you." "You forged my name," I said flatly. Doug leaned in, lowering his voice. "Careful with words like that, old man. People might think you're confused. Memory slipping, hands shaky. Happens at your age." My fists clenched. "This ranch is mine. Carol's sweat is in this soil. You think I'd hand it to you with a pen stroke?" His eyes hardened. "I think you don't have much say if the county records show otherwise. Paper doesn't lie, Walt. And people believe paper more than they believe tired stories from a widower." The bar went quiet around us, though no one moved closer. Just the hum of neon and my pulse pounding in my ears. I gathered the papers, folded them slow, and leaned close enough for him to smell the bourbon on my breath. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." Doug smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Prove it." I tucked the envelope back into my coat, my voice steady as a hammer hitting steel. This is just the beginning. Sunday dinner had always been Carol's ritual. Pot roast, cornbread, and family gathered at the oak table she insisted on buying even when money was tight. After she passed, my daughter Lisa tried to keep it alive, though Doug's presence at the head of the table soured the air. That night, I set the forged power of attorney on the table between the gravy boat and the cornbread basket. Lisa's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Doug just sipped his iced tea, cool as a snake in the sun. "Lisa," I said, steady, "your husband care to explain why he's walking around town with a legal document that says I gave him authority to sell our ranch?" Her eyes darted to Doug. "What? Doug, what is he talking about?" Doug wiped his mouth with a napkin like he had all the time in the world. "It's nothing, babe. Just a precaution. You know your dad's been tired lately. I figured it'd be easier if the paperwork was in place. Medical emergencies, property decisions, that sort of thing." Lisa's face tightened. "Dad would never sign that without telling me." I leaned forward, voice sharp. "Because I didn't sign it. That's not my hand. You know my signature, Lisa. You've seen it 1,000 times. Look at this." She picked up the paper, eyes scanning the bottom. Her hand trembled just slightly. It doesn't look right." Doug slid his hand over hers, squeezing. "Sweetheart, he's confused. I showed him the draft. He must have forgotten. You've noticed it too, haven't you? He repeats stories, misplaces things. It happens at his age." The room went silent. Lisa looked at me, then back at him. Her lip quivered like she wanted to believe me. But Doug's words dug in like hooks. I stood, pushing my chair back hard enough that it scraped the tile. "You calling me senile in my own home?" Doug smirked, still holding Lisa's hand. "I'm saying maybe you don't remember as clearly as you think. Question is," he leaned back, his eyes cold and sharp as glass, "how much of this family will believe you?" By Tuesday, the whispers had already spread faster than wildfire in July. At the feed store, men I'd worked alongside for years shifted uncomfortably when I walked past. At church, I caught hushed voices behind me in the pews. Shame about Walt, losing his memory like that. Guess Doug's just trying to keep things steady. Sad, really. Can't even sign his own checks anymore, I hear. Every word hit like gravel in my chest. Doug's story, that I was slipping, that I'd confused my own signature, had taken root. Folks nodded along because it was easier than questioning. Paper made it official, and rumor gave it teeth. When I stepped out after service, a few church ladies avoided my eyes. Only one man waited by the steps, leaning on the railing in a worn bomber jacket. Sam Jenkins. I hadn't seen him in years, not since our Army days wrenching on tanks halfway across the world. "Hell, Walt," he said, lighting a cigarette with hands that still shook from the war. "You look like a man walking with a knife in his back." I managed a bitter laugh. Feels about right. My own son-in-law forged papers to steal Carol's ranch, and now half the county thinks I can't tell my name from a grocery list. Sam took a drag, blew smoke into the crisp air, and squinted at me. "Doug Whitaker, right? I've seen his type before. Slick hair, big promises, no spine. Paperwork's his weapon, but paper can be burned." I frowned. Problem is, the more I fight, the more I look like exactly what he says I am. Sam's grin was sharp as barbed wire. "Then don't fight alone. You've still got friends, and I've got ears in town. Bank tellers, county clerks, men who know the truth when they see it." For the first time in weeks, something like hope flickered in my chest. "You really think anyone will stand up against Doug?" Sam flicked the cigarette to the ground, grinding it out with his boot. His voice was low, steady, the same tone he'd used before every dangerous job we ever pulled in the service. I don't think, Walt. I know. And when we're done, your son-in-law won't just lose the ranch. He'll lose the story he's been selling too. Sam leaned closer, eyes narrowed. Thing is, I already heard something that might sink him. You want in on it? 2 nights later, I drove back from town with a sack of groceries rattling in the passenger seat. When I pulled into the ranch yard, something felt wrong. The porch light was on, but the lock on the front door was new. Brass instead of steel. My key slid in but wouldn't turn. I tried again, harder. Nothing. Through the window, I saw movement. Doug's shadow in my living room. My living room. Boxes stacked by the wall. My recliner gone. Carol's quilt folded in a pile like it was just another rag to be boxed up. I pounded the door. Doug, open this damn door! The door cracked just enough for his smug face to appear. Evening, Walt. We had the locks changed. Liability reasons. You left some things. Don't worry. They're safe in the storage shed out back. Storage shed? My voice scraped like gravel. That's my house. Doug shrugged. Paperwork says otherwise. And until this gets sorted, maybe it's best you keep your distance. Wouldn't want you confusing yourself or misplacing more things. The door clicked shut. The sound echoed louder than any rifle shot I'd ever heard. I walked to the shed. He wasn't lying. My clothes, my tools, even Carol's old ledger book had been shoved into cardboard boxes, stacked like leftovers no one wanted. That night, I sat on the porch steps outside, a can of cold beans balanced on my knee. The ranch stretched out before me, fence lines Carol had walked every spring, pecan trees she'd planted with her bare hands. And now I was locked out, a ghost on my own land. The food turned to ash in my mouth. The silence pressed in heavy. I thought of Carol, her laugh, her stubborn promise that this ranch would never leave the family. My hand rested on the cold, new lock, useless key clenched in my fist. For the first time since she died, I whispered into the dark, Carol, I think I've lost it all. A voice came from behind me. Sam, stepping out of the truck headlights. No, Walt, he said, tossing a cassette recorder into my lap. You haven't lost everything. You need to hear this. The little recorder in my lap clicked when I pressed play. A burst of static. Then Doug's voice, clear as if he were standing right beside me. Told you, man, it's as good as sold. The old fool doesn't even know his land's halfway gone. By Christmas, I'll have buyers lined up. He's too busy forgetting what day it is to fight me. A laugh followed. Doug's, smug and sharp. Then another man's voice, probably some broker. You sure he won't contest? Doug. Contest? He can't even sign his own name straight anymore. The county's got papers that say I've got power of attorney. Walt Harris is finished. Just a matter of time. The tape clicked off. My chest burned hotter than any whiskey I'd ever swallowed. Sam sat down beside me on the porch, his face lit by the glow of the truck headlights. Got that off a payphone call he made to a broker in town. Guy owed me a favor. You see now, Walt, he's not just stealing your ranch, he's erasing you. I stared out at the dark fields, fists tight on my knees. For a moment, the weight of it threatened to crush me. Carol's trees, our soil, our years together reduced to bargaining chips in Doug's mouth. But then something shifted. The grief hardened into steel. He thinks I'm erased, I said, my voice low but steady. He thinks I'll just fade out. Let him take what's mine. He's dead wrong. Sam's grin cut through the night. That's the Walt I remember. You want to hit back? We need proof, more than this tape. County records, deed copies, bank witnesses. We build it piece by piece until he's got nowhere to run. The cold beans still sat half-eaten at my feet. I stood, tossing the can into the dirt. My hands no longer shook. Then we start now, tomorrow morning. No more sitting in the dark. Sam nodded, pulling a folded paper from his jacket. Good, because I already know where the first piece is, and it's got Doug's name all over it. We spread everything out on Sam's kitchen table. Yellowed maps, county forms, even Carol's old ledger where she tracked pecan harvests by hand. The same book Doug had tossed into a box like trash now sat at the center of our war council. Sam jabbed a finger at the table. Step 1, County Clerk's Office. We get a certified copy of the original deed with your name on it, stamped and sealed. Nobody argues with that. I nodded. Paper against paper, his forgery against the real thing. Step 2, Sam continued, pulling out a small digital recorder. We bait him into running his mouth. Men like Doug can't help bragging when they think they've won. We catch him admitting what he did, selling what ain't his. I leaned back, the old army habit kicking in. And step 3? Sam's eyes narrowed. Bank witness. Doug's been flashing that phony authority around town. He's bound to have tried something with your accounts. We find the teller or loan officer he leaned on. Someone who'll swear you never signed a thing. It felt strange, planning an operation again. Like back in the service, laying out each move before boots ever hit the ground. Only this time the battlefield was my own home, and the enemy was a man who'd married my daughter. I rubbed my hands over my face. Lisa's still torn. He's got her believing I'm slipping. If we screw this up, I don't just lose the ranch. I lose her too. Sam's voice softened. Then we don't screw it up. We go slow, steady, and we don't show our hand until we've got him boxed in on all sides. I looked down at Carol's ledger, her careful handwriting looping across the pages. The land was more than dirt. It was her. Our history, my promise. I closed the book with a firm snap. All right, county office tomorrow. Then we bait the snake. By Thanksgiving, Doug won't know what hit him. Sam's phone buzzed on the table. He picked it up, listened, then met my eyes with a grim smile. Good timing. That was a friend at the bank. Says she's seen Doug trying to push paperwork through, and she's ready to talk. Sam slid the phone across to me. You still want proof, Walt? Because tomorrow, we're getting it. The county clerk's office smelled of dust and toner, the same way it had 30 years ago when Carol and I filed our first property tax papers. I stood at the counter, palms flat, as the clerk shuffled through drawers until she pulled a thick folder with Harris Walter typed on the tab. She flipped through, stamped a page with the county seal, and slid it across the counter. Certified copy of the deed. Original ownership, Walter Harris. No liens, no transfers. I held it like a weapon. Heavy paper, embossed seal pressed deep into the fibers, my name printed bold at the top. Not Doug's, mine. Carol would have smiled to see it. Sam clapped my shoulder. There it is. Proof number 1. The foundation. That evening, back at his place, Sam pulled a USB drive from his jacket. And here's number 2, for now. He plugged it into his laptop. Doug's voice spilled from the speakers, cocky as ever. Guy's a relic. He won't even notice until the sale's done. County's already got the paperwork I gave them. It's foolproof. By the time he squeals, I'll be holding the check. The recording ended with laughter, his and another man's. I felt my jaw tighten so hard my teeth ached. Sam leaned back. We keep this under wraps. When the time's right, you'll drop it like a hammer. Deed in one hand, his own words in the other. He won't see it coming. I folded the deed carefully, slid it into a protective sleeve Carol once used for family photos. For the first time since this all began, I felt the weight shifting. But Doug wasn't stupid. He'd smell trouble soon enough. Sam closed the laptop, his eyes sharp. Word is, Doug's already planning a big announcement at Thanksgiving dinner. You ready to crash his party? Thanksgiving at Lisa's house should have smelled like turkey and cinnamon pie. Instead, it reeked of tension. Family filled the dining room. Lisa at one end, Doug carving the bird at the other, grin plastered on his face like he was hosting royalty. I waited until the plates were passed, until everyone had taken that first bite, before I reached into my coat. The certified deed slid onto the table with a hard slap, right between the gravy boat and Doug's carving knife. Conversations died. Forks clinked against plates. Lisa frowned. Dad? What is this? Doug froze for a heartbeat, then smirked as if nothing rattled him. Paperwork, old business, nothing to bother about on a holiday. I pointed at the embossed seal. This is the deed, the real one. County seal, my name. Walter Harris, owner of Harris Ranch. No transfers. No Doug Whitaker. Gasps circled the table. Lisa reached out, pulling the paper closer. Her hands shook as she read. Doug's jaw tightened, but his smile stayed. Come on, babe, he's confused again. Anybody can print something from the clerk's office if they know how. Doesn't mean it's current. I leaned forward, voice sharp. This is stamped 3 days ago. Certified copy. Fresh ink. You want to tell everyone here why your name's nowhere on it? Doug's eyes darted around the table, searching for sympathy, for anyone to nod. He laughed, but it rang hollow. What matters is who people believe. And right now, folks think Walt Harris is losing his grip. They'll take my word over his papers. Lisa's face paled, torn between her father and her husband. She whispered, almost to herself, I don't know what to believe. I slammed my palm against the deed. Believe the truth, Lisa. It's right here in black and white. Doug slid the carving knife down with a metallic scrape, his grin fading. Paper won't save you, old man. Not when the story's already written in everyone's head. He leaned across the table, his voice low and venomous. The question is, Lisa, do you believe your father or me? The tension from Thanksgiving didn't die with the turkey. By Friday morning, Lisa showed up at the ranch yard, her phone clutched tight, eyes rimmed red. She thrust the screen toward me. A text thread glowed bright. Doug, your dad asked me to handle the sale quietly. He didn't want you stressed. Doug said if you push him, he'll deny it. Old pride thing. My daughter's voice cracked. Dad, why would you do this? Why would you make him the bad guy if you were the one who asked him? The ground seemed to tilt under me. Lisa, I never sent that. Never. Her lip trembled. But the messages. Fake, I cut in. You know me better than that. Would I ever sell your mother's ranch behind your back? Before she could answer, a patrol truck rolled into the drive. Out stepped Deputy Mark Rivera, boots crunching on the gravel, hat pulled low. We'd fixed fence posts together years back, before he put on the badge. Morning, Walt, he said, nodding at me before turning to Lisa. Heard there's some confusion about messages. Lisa frowned. Doug showed me these. They're from Dad's number. Mark took the phone, thumbed through, and shook his head. I checked with the carrier this morning. These texts never went through Walt's account. It's a spoofed thread. Someone with the right app can make it look like anything. Lisa blinked. You mean Doug faked these? Mark's eyes locked on mine. I can't officially say yet, but I'll tell you this. Your dad's clean. Doug's got his hands dirty deeper than you think. The color drained from Lisa's face. Her phone slipped slightly in her grip. I stepped closer, voice steady but heavy with hurt. Lisa, you see it now. He's been playing you against me. Against your own family. Mark pulled a small envelope from his jacket, slapping it against his palm. And this isn't the worst of it, Walt. You'll want to hear what the bank recorded. Deputy Mark set the envelope down on the hood of his truck and slid out a small flash drive. He nodded toward Sam, who'd followed me up the drive and now leaned with arms crossed, jaw tight. This came straight from the bank's internal recordings, Mark said. Loan officers are required to log calls. I got clearance to make a copy. He plugged the drive into his patrol laptop. The audio crackled alive. Doug's voice filled the air, cocky and certain. Yeah, go ahead and process the deposit. The power of attorney's on file. Harris won't contest. Man can't even keep his keys straight these days. He's old, he'll never fight this. By the time anyone notices, I'll be sitting on 6 figures. Silence followed, broken only by the faint tick of Mark's truck engine cooling. Lisa's hand flew to her mouth. Tears welled as her husband's words cut through every excuse he'd ever given. He said that. About my dad? I swallowed hard, throat tight, but I kept my eyes on her. Now you know the truth. This isn't about helping me. It's about erasing me. Doug's arrogance, his forged papers, his fake texts, all of it cracked under the weight of his own voice. Proof so sharp it couldn't be dulled. Mark closed the laptop with a snap. This is enough to bring charges. Fraud, forgery, attempted theft. We move smart, Walt, and he won't just lose face. He'll face cuffs. Sam clapped me on the back, grinning for the first time in weeks. Told you. Paper can burn, but a man's voice? That's fire that leaves a mark. Lisa's tears slipped free. Dad, I'm so sorry I ever doubted you. I pulled her close, my chest heavy but steady. He played us both, sweetheart, but he's done now. Mark slid the flash drive back into the envelope, eyes narrowing. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving dinner. If you want Doug to choke on his lies, that's when we lay it all out. The dining room glowed warm with candlelight, turkey steaming at the center of the table. But the mood was ice. Doug stood tall at the head, raising his glass like a conquering hero. Family, he said, voice booming. We've got a big future ahead. Harris Ranch is about to turn into something more, something that'll secure us all. And it's thanks to me for handling what needed to be handled. Polite claps rippled around the table, but they froze when the front door creaked open. I stepped in, Sam at my side, and Deputy Mark right behind us in uniform. I didn't sit. I didn't smile. I simply laid 3 items on the tablecloth in front of Doug: the certified deed, a USB drive, and the sheriff's badge gleaming under the light. Doug's grin faltered. What's this, old man? Another one of your... Sam cut him off, slamming the laptop open. Doug's own voice spilled into the room, echoing off the walls. Harris won't contest. He's old. He'll never fight this. By the time anyone notices, I'll be sitting on 6 figures. Gasps broke out. Forks clattered. Lisa covered her face with both hands, shoulders shaking. Deputy Mark spoke next, calm but firm. Forgery, wire fraud, attempted theft of property. It's all here. Multiple counts. And you, Doug Whitaker, are under arrest. Doug stammered, sweat breaking on his forehead. This is twisted. He set me up. You believe him over me? I shoved the deed forward, my voice like steel. This paper says whose land it is, and that voice says who tried to steal it. Both belong to you, Doug. one as a thief, the other as a fool. Mark snapped cuffs around his wrists, the metallic click final as a coffin lid. Doug sagged, no fight left in him, his empire of lies crumbling in front of everyone he thought he'd charmed. Lisa's sobs broke into a whisper. "Dad, I'm so sorry." I put an arm around her, my eyes never leaving Doug as he was led away. He thought he could erase me with ink, but tonight, he's the one erased. As Mark dragged Doug out past the stunned family, I turned back to the table. "Now," I said, steady. "Let's finish this meal the way Carol would have wanted. Together." The ranch was quiet again. No locks I couldn't open. No shadows lurking in my own living room. Just the creak of the porch boards under my boots and the pecan trees swaying in the November wind. Doug sat in county jail, his name smeared across the front page of the Gazette. Fraud, forgery, attempted theft. 3 words that would follow him longer than any of us cared to think. Lisa filed for divorce the day after Thanksgiving. She came home, tears in her eyes, but for once they weren't for him. "Dad," she said, hugging me tight, "I see it now. I should have trusted you all along." I squeezed her hand, steady as I could. We all want to believe the people we love, but sometimes the truth speaks louder than blood. What matters is, we've still got each other. That night I sat on the porch with Sam, coffee steaming in the chill air. I looked out across the land Carol had built. Land almost stolen, but now restored. My promise to her still stood, stronger than ever. "They tried to erase me from my own land," I murmured, watching the horizon. "But I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere." If you've listened this far, thank you. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place? And don't forget to subscribe to Revenge Stories Men U55 America, because stories like mine deserve to be heard.